Thank you very much, Alia. Thank you, the Human Foundation, for bringing us all together to talk about really pressing concerns that affect all of us, that affects the entire humanity. In August this year, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, we call it the IPCC, released a report which warned, quote, red for humanity. So this is a major UN scientific report that has said that it is human activity which is changing the climate in unprecedented and sometimes irreversible ways. What I, as a feminist scholar, have found is a gendered canvas to the climate crisis, and how this reveals that there is disproportionate disruption to the lives of women around the globe, especially women of color and those who live in the global south. The book that we are talking about, The Power of the Feminine, Facing Shadow Evoking Light, is a groundbreaking book on human consciousness. It discusses the accumulative malaises that have brought us to this present crisis, where nature revolts and warns us of its destructive forces. If we human beings continue this way, the exploitation of nature and the demeaning of women are inseparable. Women have been degraded, humiliated worldwide since the inception of the hierarchical structures of societies. So, to return the balance, we need to face a shadow, just like Sharon and Alia have mentioned in their presentations, and we need to bring it to the light. The feminine power does not belong to women alone, as Sharon said. It is the spirit of love, compassion that we need most in our time. For this presentation, I will draw on the feminist principles of critical ecofeminisms to understand the crisis we are facing, the role of human consciousness, and I will use that to argue for a cure for the current state of the world. Feminist ethics is essentially caring for the planet, and that requires a commitment to act. And this includes the cultivation of social, racial, ethnic, and gender equalities based on a just, mindful, and non-competitive sharing of the natural resources and beauties of the planet. The feminist principles of ethics of care has also played an important role in debates in environmental ethics, in particular in feminist approaches to animal ethics. Likewise, virtue ethics ask us how we should live, what sort of people we should be, and what it is to be a good person and how to make ourselves into such a person. In an environmental context, then, what is at stake is not so much norms of action as norms of character. That is, virtue ethics concerns our attitudes and dispositions with respect to the environment. There have been a number of studies in the field of humanities and social science, because I come from both the fields, examining the ways values influence human consciousness and actions. Feminist ethics ties individual consciousness and happiness to the growth of success and social justice. Environmental ethics studies the moral relationship of human beings and also the value and moral status of the environment and its non-human contents. It poses a challenge to anthropocentrism, at the core of which is human-centeredness. So environmental ethicists have defined different positions concerning what matters ethically, from those that focus on human beings, including issues of environmental justice and justice between generations, to those who argue that even non-human animals, the living organisms, the ecosystems and species also have a kind of a moral status. Therefore, I want to foreground the concept of eco-ethical consciousness rooted in feminist principles. Eco-ethical consciousness posits that we need to adopt normative and positive approaches to the future of the planet, not just humankind, especially as all our future is affected by climate change. It allows us to revisit and revision the meaning of humanity's collective future. So the mainstream humanities studies, again, from where I come from, they come with an anthropocentric and patriarchal focus. So the humanities, as evidenced in their very name, continue to retain an almost exclusive focus on human beings and their affairs, often treating the natural world as a mere backdrop to human history and culture. So this is where the concept of critical ecofeminism comes in. And for this, I want to draw on Australian feminist philosopher Val Plumwood, who coined the term critical feminism to situate humans in ecological terms and non-humans in ethical terms. For the two tasks are interconnected and cannot be addressed properly in isolation from each other. So critical ecofeminism extends the discussion of ecofeminism, a field of study that connects ecology with feminism, which in turn connects paternalism and capitalism and patriarchy with the domination of women and nature. Ecofeminism's evolution as an intersectional framework for interrogating socio-economic and environmental relations and a politics of solidarity demands economic justice for all species. So our book, The Power of the Feminine, Facing Shadow, Evoking Light, very much echoes Plumwood's argument about the idea of dualism that lies at the heart of domination of nature and women, and explains why the domination of women and the domination of nature are fundamentally connected, and that the environmental efforts are therefore integral to the work to overcome oppression of women. So Plumwood goes beyond and resists the idea that with all problems, when all problems we will seize, when we seize all the problems, when the powerless will take over power. So she resists that notion, and instead she moves to strike at the root cause of how dualisms, whether it's culture versus nature, reason versus emotions, male versus female, mind versus body, master versus slave, rationality versus animality, civilized versus primitive, self versus the other, and male versus female, how they all manifest and how they are, why we ostensibly seem to assign a higher value to one side over the other. So instead, we need to replace these dualisms with non-hierarchical concepts of difference. And that's why we need to harness the power of the feminine. We need to break the hegemony of these structures of dualism in thought, narrative, and presentation. So this is the essence of an anti-dualist ecological feminism, or what Plumwood would more technically call as critical ecofeminism, which is the very core of our book. So I come from three different traditions: as a Tibetan Buddhist, as a feminist scholar, and as a communication scholar. I'm drawing on my research on consciousness and ecofeminism. My dissertation is on human values, human communication, and I come from a lifetime of experience working on intersectional social justice, be it gender, be it climate change. And I'm working to creating a concept of a value creative eco-ethical consciousness based on critical ecofeminism, one that is specifically oriented towards the well-being of both human and non-human. So for this, I look to the relation between religion, culture, value creation, eco-ethical consciousness, and critical ecofeminism, and consider all of these as a critical human endeavor extending to non-humanities. And as a scholar who's proudly associated with this seminal book on human consciousness, talking about the power of the feminine, I'm advocating a shift in human consciousness is the key because such a shift will recognize all of us, humans and non-humans, as complementary and equitable parts in the shared humanity. And such a shift in human consciousness will forge a new identity for all of us in this critical time of our humanity. It will forge an identity, one that is connected, nurturing, restorative, and regenerative for all species of a planet. And I am truly honored and to be associated with an illustrious group of feminist scholars. And I think with this book and discussions like this, we are making an important foray into this important and crucial endeavor towards climate and planetary well-being, at the heart of which is harnessing the potential of the relational feminine archetype. So I'd like to end here, and I look forward to the question and answer round. Thank you.